And I was just the airhead who wanted to, pick up chicks. Babes now, man. Babes.
Susan Dey was only 17 years old when she became famous on the Partridge Family in 1970. While millions of viewers saw a happy family singing together on television, something very different was happening behind the scenes. Susan had fallen in love with her co-star David Cassidy, who played her older brother on the show. David Cassidy was the biggest teen heartthrob of his time. Teenage girls everywhere screamed his name at concerts and bought his records. But to Susan, he was more than just a famous co-star. She spent long hours with him on set, rehearsing lines and talking about the strange new world of fame they had both entered. During those quiet moments between filming, Susan began to hope that David might feel the same way about her. For years, Susan kept these feelings locked inside her heart. She was afraid that if she told David how she felt, he might reject her and ruin their friendship. She worried it would make filming the show awkward and uncomfortable, so she stayed quiet, hoping that maybe someday David would realize he cared for her too. David knew about Susan's feelings, even though she never said anything directly. He could sense how she looked at him and the way she acted around him. The problem was that David didn't feel the same way. He was living the exciting life of a rock star, traveling around the world and meeting new people everywhere he went. To David, Susan was a good friend and someone he respected, but he didn't want a romantic relationship with her. This painful situation continued for years while they filmed the show together. Susan had to smile and act like a happy family member on camera while dealing with her broken heart in private. She learned to hide her true feelings very well, which would become a skill she would need for many other struggles in her life. The truth about Susan's feelings didn't come out until 1994, more 20 years later. David Cassidy wrote a book about his experiences called Come On Get Happy, Fear and Loathing on the Partridge Family Bus. In this book, David revealed that Susan had been in love with him during the show. He explained in detail why he couldn't return her feelings and described their relationship from his point of view. When Susan discovered that David had written about her private emotions in his book, she felt completely betrayed. For over 20 years, she had kept her feelings secret and never talked about what happened between them. She had protected both of their privacy and maintained her dignity. Then suddenly, David had told the whole world about her most private pain without asking her permission. The betrayal was devastating for Susan. It wasn't just that David had revealed her secret, but that he had turned her heartbreak into entertainment for strangers to read about. He had described why he rejected her and made it sound like a funny story rather than recognizing how much it had hurt her. Susan felt humiliated and angry that someone she had trusted could treat her feelings so carelessly. Susan's response was complete silence. She never made any public comments about David's book or tried to defend herself. Instead, she began pulling away from anything connected to the Partridge Family. When the cast had reunion shows or special events, Susan never attended. She refused to do interviews about the show and avoided any projects that would bring back memories of that difficult time. While Susan was dealing with her heartbreak, she was also fighting other serious battles that nobody knew about. The pressure of being on television as a teenager was overwhelming. She felt like she had to look perfect all the time, which led to her developing an eating disorder. In the 1970s, people didn't talk openly about problems like this, so Susan suffered alone without getting proper help. The media made her struggles even worse. Reporters and photographers followed her everywhere, trying to find stories about her personal life. In one shocking incident, a reporter actually snuck into Susan's Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and wrote about what she heard there. This betrayal made Susan realize that she couldn't trust anyone in Hollywood to respect her privacy. Susan began to withdraw from public life more and more. She continued acting for a while and had success on a show called LA Law in the 1980s, but by the 1990s, she had mostly retired from entertainment. She moved to upstate New York with her husband and tried to build a quiet, normal life away from the spotlight. For decades, Susan remained silent about her experiences. People wondered why she never talked about the Partridge Family or attended reunions with her former co-stars. Some fans thought she was being difficult or ungrateful. Others suspected there was more to the story, but couldn't figure out what had happened. The truth was that Susan had spent years healing from the damage that fame had done to her. She had learned not to trust people in the entertainment industry and had built walls around herself for protection. Talking about the Partridge Family meant reliving painful memories that she preferred to keep buried. Everything changed when David Cassidy died in 2017. His death marked the end of any possibility that they might someday talk about what happened and make peace with each other. But it also freed Susan from worrying about how he might react if she decided to tell her side of the story. At age 72, Susan finally decided it was time to break her silence. She had lived long enough to gain perspective on what happened and realized she didn't want to leave the world without setting the record straight. She wasn't interested in revenge or causing drama. She simply wanted peeps. To know the truth from her own perspective rather than only hearing David's version of events. When Susan finally spoke out, what she revealed was even more heartbreaking than people expected. She explained that the rejection from David wasn't what hurt her the most. The real pain came from having that rejection exposed to the world in his book without her permission. She felt like he had turned something deeply personal into entertainment for strangers. Susan also talked about how isolated she had felt during her years of fame. She couldn't trust anyone because reporters were always trying to invade her privacy. Even people she thought were friends sometimes betrayed her confidences to the media. This constant fear of betrayal made her feel completely alone, even when she was surrounded by people. Most shocking of all, Susan admitted that there were times when she wasn't sure she could keep going. The combination of unrequited love, public humiliation, eating disorders, and constant media harassment had pushed her to her breaking point. She had to fight very hard to survive emotionally during those difficult years. Susan's story revealed how damaging fame can be, especially for young people. She had been thrust into the spotlight as a teenager and expected to handle pressures that would be difficult even for adults. The entertainment industry in the 1970s offered little support for performers dealing with mental health issues or personal problems. When Susan finally told her story, the reaction was immediate and intense. Fans who had grown up watching the Partridge Family were shocked to learn about the pain behind Susan's smile. Social media buzzed with discussions about her revelations. Some people defended David Cassidy, pointing out his own struggles with alcohol and other problems. Others praised Susan for finally speaking up and sharing her truth. Many peoples. He found Susan's story deeply relatable. Anyone who had ever experienced heartbreak, betrayal, or feelings of isolation could understand what she had gone through. Her vulnerability made her seem more human and real than the perfect television character she had played. Susan's decision to speak out also started important conversations about how the entertainment industry treats young performers. Her story became part of a larger discussion about the need for better mental health support and protection of privacy for people in the spotlight. At 72 years old, Susan Dey had finally found her voice after 50 years of silence. She hadn't spoken out to hurt anyone or seek revenge. She had spoken out to reclaim her own story and make sure people understood what really happened during those years when she seemed to have everything but was actually struggling just to survive. Susan's story serves as a reminder that the glamorous world of entertainment often hides tremendous pain and struggle. Behind every smiling face on television, there may be someone fighting battles that the audience never sees. Her courage in finally telling her truth has given hope to others who have suffered in silence and shown that it's never too late to speak up for yourself.